Greetings from Baltimore-Washington Conference's Discipleship Council. I'm Jessica Hayden and am honored to serve as the chairperson of this team of dedicated, skilled servant leaders who seek to illuminate that we are still one. We are blessed to be a connectional church. No church is an island unto itself, but rather is connected in mission and ministry with other United Methodist churches, campus ministries, retreat and camping, and other entities. One structural aspect that the Baltimore-Washington Conference adopted in 2006 was the Discipleship Council, which serves some of the functions that a local church's church council plays. We take seriously our responsibility to ensure that conference resources align to its vision, mission, and critical issues as we discern, develop, review, and evaluate the strategic direction of the conference toward its vision and goals. As we shared with you at the last annual conference session, our goals for 2020 were threefold. Number one, increase by at least 10% per year the number of churches who are on a pathway to becoming an anti-racist church so that by 2022, all of our BWC churches are on a path toward becoming racial justice change agents. Number two, each local church reports on its progress as related to the NEJ call to action on racial justice and on its internal and external conversations annually at Church Charge Conference, with 10% more churches engaged than the year before, so that by 2026, 100% of our churches are doing work to grow in our intercultural competence covenant, traits of beloved community, throughout the conference. And three, to continue crystallizing our system for understanding ministry vitality. Furthermore, we shared that our next step would happen during church conference season. The 2020 church profile included elements from the 2019 pastor's report and are directly related to the Discipleship Council's work. We would like to share this data with you as we have already done with individual discipleship board chairs. We continue to reclaim our Wesleyan discipleship even as we respond to the changing ministry and social landscape. John Wesley's rule of discipleship provides a holistic understanding of discipleship, to witness to Jesus Christ in the world and to follow his teachings through acts of compassion, justice, worship, and devotion under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Within this context, churches were asked to rate each dimension. On each of the following slides, you will see the question number from the 2020 Church Profile Form and the discipleship agency to which it relates. 418 churches reported that most or many of their members witnessed to Jesus Christ. 511 churches reported that most or many members follow Jesus' teaching through acts of compassion. 374 churches reported that the congregation follows Jesus' teaching through acts of justice, often or more often than not. 519 churches reported that the congregation follows Jesus' teachings through acts of worship, often or more often than not. 482 churches reported that most or many members follow Jesus' teaching through acts of devotion. In this chart, the dark blue means most, red means many, green means some, purple means few, and bright blue means non-applicable. When the Discipleship Council looked at all five aspects, we couldn't help but notice an unevenness and that justice wasn't a spiritual discipline for most of our congregations. Yet justice is a spiritual discipline. It is the way that we can love God and neighbor together. It is vital that we reclaim the spiritual discipline of justice as a part of our understanding of discipleship and congregational vitality. Furthermore, it is important that we do this to live into our commitments to the NEJ call to action and to make real our United Methodist Constitution. On the 2020 Church Profile Form, we invited congregations to tell us where the congregation is on the path toward racial justice. People could and did select more than one response. Of the 498 churches who answered this question, 8% reported that the congregation is not on a pathway toward becoming an anti-racist church. 42% reported that the pastor preaches on racial justice at least once a month as a part of our spiritual discipline of justice for all God's people. 24% reported that there are monthly opportunities for dialogue and learning. 19% reported leadership is having needed conversations in hopes of being able to meaningfully sign the commitment form. 13% reported that the congregation has signed the commitment form. 9% reported that the congregation is engaged in all dimensions specified in the commitment form. 37% reported that our congregation has been on a journey of racial justice for a long time. We are still doing the work. We celebrate that 83% of Baltimore-Washington Conference congregations are on a path toward racial justice. We also look forward to seeing how this baseline number grows when we receive results from the 2021 Discipleship Ministries Form. As you look at this slide, please note that congregations could choose more than one answer, and 11% of our congregations are not of one mind. One of Discipleship Council's roles is to keep this on the dashboard, ensuring the conference is providing adequate support for congregations to do this work, and that the appropriate conference groups are helping lead and resource, monitoring progress on the We Rise United project. We have learned a lot from working with individuals and churches who have committed to becoming an anti-racist church. The Racial Justice Team has formed 3 working groups in partnership with the Legislative Action Team, BMCR, and Hispanic Latino Ministries leadership as a result of our work with those who have signed the commitment to becoming an anti-racist church. Those working groups meet regularly and include how to get started and/or get more folks involved in becoming an anti-racist church for beloved community, how to be a catalyst for change in a congregation, and working on legislation and policy for change. Deepening discipleship continues to be at the heart of all that we do. This chart illustrates the status of local congregations in the development of an intentional discipleship process. This information helps the Discipleship Council to know how to align annual conference resources to support local congregations to increase their capacity for making and maturing disciples. Effectively measuring ministry vitality remains of critical importance, and we celebrate the number of persons reporting that congregations are growing in their discipleship and engagement of persons, and growing as disciples, although experiencing stagnation in the number of persons engaged. In reviewing this information, Discipleship Council also could see that a renewed focus on discipleship, with an emphasis on developing invitational, outward mindsets, needs to be an essential part of resourcing congregations who aren't experiencing fruit. Finally, we have on our dashboard a Young People's Ministry strategic goal of growing local church youth engagement. We will track this by comparing this data year over year and seeing if the number of youth engaged in their churches increases year over year. We don't have comparisons between 2019 and 2020 because we just started collecting it in 2020. This question and the previous ones are a part of the new Discipleship Ministries form, which is being used during this church conference season. We celebrate its focus and the fact that it is on the church conference agenda. All of the data gathered from the pastors' reports and from the Discipleships Board inform our approach to the 2021 goals. Our goals are to continue to measure progress on board goals, which are essential to the mission of inspiring and equipping local faith communities to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. This year, we will focus on alignment of Discipleship Board work to the output of the Discipleship Ministries report for greater annual conference impact. Secondly, we hope to see a 10% increase, at least 60 more churches, in the number of churches that are on a pathway toward racial justice. Thirdly, for our annual conference leaders to learn and to practice interculturally competent behaviors for the creation of beloved community, so that by 2026, 100% of our churches are doing work to grow and practicing interculturally competent behaviors that are needed for beloved community throughout the conference. Creating a clear dashboard for annual conference ministry vitality with new strategic foci emerging from the work of the Discipleship Ministries Board and local churches. As we continue to develop and refine this shared system of understanding, we will strengthen our ability to inspire and equip local faith communities to better develop disciples for the transformation of the world, so that more transformed lives transform lives. and in so doing, witness to the fact that we are still one, standing, rising, transforming.